Hey, this is Brooks. I've got some time, I've got an idea, and I've got a cup of coffee. So let's forge a character. Previously on Character Design Forge, when I started making this video, I thought it had been a lot longer, but it's only been a little over a year since I posted the previous version of the character that I'm redrawing and building a character turnaround for in this video. Previously, I showed some even older concepts there for him, and in this video, I've done what some call quality of life changes to the character, mainly changing some of the shapes and proportions of him to even further sell the personality I have in mind, and the structure of the neck a bit too, so that it's a little bit more believable, and things like that. This character is a timekeeper, removed from time to maintain it, and some of those initial horse-like sketches there are just me trying to make sense of a neck that was previously just sort of attached to the body with no in-between. And I want to be able to use this character in a story I'm working on right now and need him to be basically believable from all angles, and that's also why this video becomes a turnaround as well. Another aspect of the character that I thought could be improved was pushing and clarifying the idea of the head tail that's made up of those glowing segments running down his back. And I had an opportunity here to integrate that initial sphere into the head a bit more by almost cutting a sphere shape negative out of the head. I was also able to further define the facial features of the character and squish some of them together a bit to really give him a cantankerous, tired, squinty look. You can just read that he's just so done with everything. I like the small orange spectacles that I gave him, and of course a problem that arises when giving a character glasses is that they need to be visible, but you also don't want them to obscure the eye or the expression, which is why usually characters are given glasses that are bigger than the eyes with just the pupils inside, so that it's really simple and clear. But for these small spectacles, it takes some finessing to make it so nothing is getting in the way of his expression. They're closer to his eyes in this version than the original, but they're also suspended far enough on the bridge of his nose, and of course the color is so opposite of his eyes that I think it works. The original character was influenced by a kind of glowing jellyfish, speaking of color, and I aimed the silhouette of the character to be more jellyfish-like this time, and that meant making the arms more prominent. It just seemed to make more sense that he could still have a large range of motion with larger arms. I liked his hands being small to sort of sell how fastidious he is in the original, but that can still be conveyed through acting in the final story. You can see me using the Symmetry tool here, which is relatively new to Procreate. I would be careful not to overuse it for a number of reasons. Being able to draw things symmetrical manually is a good skill to maintain, but especially when you're doing turnaround work like this, it's such a valuable time-saving tool. I used it a few times in this time-lapse to play with maybe some different mask-like head shapes, and I think I just doodled a bit with the radial symmetry. But at this point I'm starting to get my overall look down, reintroducing some color, changing up the pattern on his arms to make them more closely resemble a gear, and now I'm on to refining the drawing with Linework. And this is another growing sort of learning experience I've had recently. Of course, in general, I've shown a preference for that lineless, flat or painted look in recent years, but after trying some line work recently, I realized that I was actually just being averse to lines. And what was happening was I was associating line work, my own lines, with a lower quality level of art like I was making when I was worse, totally subconsciously. And my thinking was lines are worse because I used to be worse. But really, as my personal skill level has increased, my ability to make good-looking lines has as well. And so especially with a project like this, it makes sense not to go through all of the lineless steps, where I think that actually lines suit this character well. And I've learned to use a much thinner line than I used to, which is helping. And I think the fewer steps removed you are from that initial sketch, the more life and character the final work will have. One trick I used here was once I had a front view of the character done, I erased all of the interior detail lines from that shape and flipped it over and used that as the template or the starting point for the back. Obviously, if you're looking at a character perfectly from the front and then perfectly from the back, it's actually going to be the same shape, just in reverse. So just making sure that some of the contours and stuff are following through onto the back, not having something like a sleeve that's pointed down in both directions, because then obviously that presents some problems. But it was a good way, of course, again, to save some time. This guy's going to be part of a project that I'm really looking forward to you guys seeing more of and telling you guys more about soon. That's it for me today. I'm making new videos every week on Character Design Forge. Subscribing on YouTube lets you know when new videos are made available. If this or any of my videos have been helpful for you, please consider supporting me or helping me in return. You can go to patreon.com/bageldenizen and get a ton of things in return, including the Novice Bard Critique, which is a personalized video critique of your work that helps you level up your own personal skills and shows you kind of what things you could be working on to make your work better. Thank you so much for watching, and have fun creating.